Good morning, everyone. My name's Doc, and welcome to 2023. I hope you guys are having a good New Year's morning. Hope you guys are getting settled in. You got your coffee, you're not too hungover, and you guys are ready to attack all the opportunities that lie ahead this year. Today's video is going to be on Litecoin. I want to discuss Litecoin from a high time frame perspective all the way down to low time frame. We're going to look for actionable signals both on the long side and the short side. I want to discuss the bull thesis on Litecoin, both short term and long term. Long term meaning just a few months, not like years, and and also the sort of bear thesis. There's a very significant level on the Litecoin chart that we need to discuss, which is funny enough at 69. We want to know if 69 is going to be resistance once again, or if we can flip it to support and aim for higher levels. So there's a lot to discuss in Litecoin. But before I want to get into that, I just want to shout out the clinic, which is my Discord where we talk all financial markets, crypto, equities, macro, and so on. There's about 200 members now, and we're growing every week, so feel free to check that out. The link is in the description box below, as well as a link to my Twitter, where you guys can catch updates of the trades that I cover here on YouTube. Live updates, you guys can see how these things are playing out in real time and see if there's any like audibles or adjustments that I'm making. And lastly, if you guys have been outside of crypto markets for some time and you're looking to jump back in 2023 and looking for an awesome place to buy and trade crypto, be sure to check out Bybit. If you sign up now until the end of January using the link in the description box below, you can get zero fees on spot trading, as well as up to $30,000 in sign up bonuses. So be sure to check out the link in the description box below for Bybit. All right, guys, let's get into this video. Okay, the first thing I want to do is start from the monthly chart. And I know this is a incomplete monthly chart. There's more of the run up in 2017, but we're not going to use that. We want to focus on this last like 6 months, the current bear market, the current bear market structure. And you guys can see the levels that I have marked out here, pretty significant, right? So what has Litecoin done? It popped the bubble. We never made new all-time highs in the double bubble of late 2021. We sold off. We formed a range, right? So we took out, Litecoin took out some significant lows in June 2022. The June crash, the end of the 3AC and all that stuff, right? Where we found bottom, it took out some significant lows from the 2020 run up. It found support. It traded within a range, a monthly range for about 5 or 6 months, right? 5 or 6 months. And just recently, we've picked up some steam off the back of, well, to be honest, nothing's happening in crypto. There's really nothing to look forward to. There's nothing bullish out there. The merge has occurred. We had some loose narratives to run on, and crypto is a loose narrative sort of asset class. You know, we'll just attach on to anything that we find or deem bullish. And right now, there's a Litecoin halving narrative, and it's a loose narrative, but it is, you know, affecting price in a very bullish manner. And so much so that we had a breakout candle in November of last year, um, which closed outside the range. So you have a seemingly you have a range breakout basically, right? And what's more jarring or more important to me is the following month, the December month, right, where we did trade back inside the range. We traded back inside the range, but we found demand, right? This was a bunch of demand, right? This is a quote unquote like accumulation zone or a range breakout, a retest of that range, and then close above it. So you're finding demand, you're finding demand in the prior range, which is from a monthly sense quite bullish, if you ask me, right? And if you were trading this like a hourly chart or a 4 hour chart or something like that, you would say, okay, well, we found bottom. You know, this is demand right here. We had a rally. We came all the way down into demand. Now we're breaking out. We're retesting, and we're looking to push up. And the levels that, the top side levels, if you're trading this like a 4 hour chart, would be like 107 or this sort of block right here. So if we mark something like this out, the swing high into the breakdown, something like this, you would say, okay, at least a retest of the bottom side of this block, which would be about 89, 89.90, right? So So that would be sort of the bullish monthly structure. That's kind of what I mentioned. If we want to look at the high time frame, several months down the line, what could Litecoin potentially be doing at the height of this, halvening rally? Where are the heights of this could be? Anywhere up in here, 130, 140, something like that. But one step at a time. Okay, so let's come to the weekly now. I know my chart's a little bit busy. I will clean it up, but try to focus. Well, we could just do it like this. We could just do it like this. The thing that I'd like to point out on the monthly is that we are, while we were, sorry, excuse me. On the monthly, it looked like we're just ranging, but on the weekly, as you guys can tell, the bodies of this candle are showing demand. Every pullback is kind of pushing towards a higher high. We do have sort of a bullish market structure built over several months, over 7 months of trading. Sort of higher highs are developing and higher lows are developing, and we can draw our attention to this candle right here. This weekly candle in the beginning of November was really important because this was the sort of FTX collapse candle. And what you can see is that Litecoin was already starting to break out. It had a big pullback, which cleaned up all this liquidity, all these lows right here, one, two, three, four untapped weekly lows. It cleaned up all four of those lows and closed above it, retested, and then pushed higher, right? So since November, pretty strong market structure, right, on the weekly. That's all I really want to point out on the weekly. And then let's get to the most important thing that a lot of people are talking about is this level at 69, right? And let's discuss that now. Okay, so 69, this swing high, right? We have a breakdown, a consolidation, and then a swing high, a push back into this supply. So this is a bunch of supply. This is a bearish supply, a breakdown, a push back into the supply, and then the ultimate low is being reached, right? So whenever, however long it took us, 6 months or whatever, when we pushed back into this supply level right here that was set in May, we got rejected pretty hard on multiple days, 4, 5, 6 days in a row. We tried breaching this level. Obviously, this led to this FTX collapse that I'm talking about, right? So the FTX crash, we took out all these lows, we rebounded, we pushed another high, right? So 69, right? Funny. 69 was resistance. We smashed through it. We never held it as support. We never held it as support. We broke below it, right? And now to a lot of people, right, the bears out there, this is the bear case. What's happening here is that this is a deviation of 69, right? And this is sort of a bear flag being pushed into that same level, right? And this is an accumulation for shorts, and we're going to target liquidity to the downside, 1 and 2, right? That's a very valid setup, very valid idea, very, pretty it could play out, right? There's nothing I can say to disprove that if we're just talking about this in a nutshell. In a nutshell, that makes a lot of sense. To people who like to draw shapes and silly patterns on charts, you could say, hey, there's a shoulder, there's a head, this is another shoulder forming, right? This is something that people do, the head and shoulders, right? You could be looking at it like this. So that's another bearish sort of narrative, right? Another thing you could be looking at is like, okay, what have we done? We've deviated above here. We were failing to hold 69, so it held as resistance again, and we're pushing into that again. We're gonna make a lower high, and we're gonna push down below, right? So these are the sort of bearish narratives out there at the moment regarding Litecoin's daily structure. But like I said, the monthly is giving you sort of a bullish structure. The weekly is giving you sort of a bullish idea. And then let's draw our attention to the last thing before we get into even lower time frames is Litecoin Bitcoin. So Litecoin Bitcoin is something I've had on my radar for over a month now. Early November, when we had that breakout into right before the FTX collapse, I was really looking at Litecoin Bitcoin and, something really important. So I have this funny meme on my chart from, for many years now, just demonstrating how much of a poor performer Litecoin is against Bitcoin. Why would you ever want to be bullish on Litecoin from a high time frame perspective, from an investment perspective, et cetera, et cetera? Why would you ever want to do that? Because all it does is bleed. It'll have a spike up, it'll bleed, it'll have a spike up, it'll bleed. And you could say that again right now. We're just having a spike up, we're going to continue to bleed. Valid again. But something that changed for me is a weekly market structure break. and you have very few of these. Like it's not it's a market structure break and sort of an SFP of a very significant low. So let's talk about that now. What's kind of changed for me on the Litecoin Bitcoin chart? You have this swing low from 2017 that led into the 2017 strength. This is all the 2017 bubble, bled out, didn't do anything in the 2021 rally and all the euphoria, everything that's happening, all this bubble, all this hype in the last few years. Litecoin has been horrible, right? Broke below a significant level. I have this on log, sorry. Broke below a very significant level. Is just making lower lows, but what's important to me is kind of what Litecoin has done since, right? So that level's marked out, support, 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 broke underneath it. Resistance right here, resistance, try to break back above it, got denied, a little bit of consolidation, and then a breakdown, right? Since this breakdown in June, look at what Litecoin has done from June 2022 till today. It's been in bullish market structure. We had a bullish engulfing weekly, took out the lows, closed above the highs, continued to chop, found a higher high, obviously rejected by that same level. But as it was being rejected by that same level, let's pull up the weekly trend, right? Being rejected by the same level, being rejected by the weekly trend, but now it's holding above the weekly trend, right? So first time in multiple months, multiple years, it's done that, right? Found a higher level of demand, right? So you would call this demand that led into a higher leg, and then it pull back, use that same demand level. That's a market structure break, right? Every time we put in a high, we're putting in a lower low, a lower high, right? Here we've done the opposite. We've put in a high, right? We've put in a higher low and a higher high, right? So we're in bullish market structure against Bitcoin, right? And now after FTX, we're finding support on the weekly. We're attempting to make new highs. So we can't deny what's going to happen. Could this roll over? It could, but the data is suggesting continued strength against Bitcoin, and we cannot deny the fact that this is kind of a 4-year long market structure break, a 4-year long change in character. Whereas Bitcoin or Litecoin since 2018, 2017 has just bled and bled and bled and lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. Right now, you've got a break in market structure with higher highs and higher lows. That is significant for me. A 4-year trend change is significant for me. Okay, all that's aside, let's talk about Litecoin locally. Let's come back to that 69 level that we were discussing that I kind of got off track about. Okay, now here's a little bit of how I trade. I use price action and I use trends. I use EMAs, and this EMA that's on your chart, on the chart right now on the screen in front of you, is the 4-hour 200 EMA, which is the same thing as the daily 34 EMA. Right? So on the daily chart, this is your daily 34 EMA. On the 4-hour chart, it's the 200 EMA. Okay. So now that we're on the daily chart, this is highlighted for you. In the last year or so, you guys can see that Litecoin has been respecting the daily trend both to the top side and the bottom side. And if Litecoin is respecting the trend, we must also respect the trend. Okay. So Litecoin. Now, let's talk about where we are, right? On the daily, we've put in a high and we're having a pullback. So we haven't broken market structure on the daily yet. And in fact, what we have done is we've found support. So look at this. We've got a high, which was rejected around 63, right? A pullback. Another high rejected at 63, a pullback into the daily trend, a launch, right? Inability to hold the daily trend. This is visible in the 1-hour, which I'll show you in a little bit. Keep your eye on this. And then a pullback. And this pullback found demand, found support at 63. What was prior resistance on the daily over here has now become support, and we're getting a push higher. Okay. Now, as we approached 69, we've got sort of an underside retest of the daily. We got rejected. We're getting another push above the daily, and we're consolidating. So now for me to consider 69 to be bullish, we're going to have to hold multiple things. We're going to have to do multiple things. Number one, we're going to have to flip 69 to support. We've never been able to do that. It's been resistance and supply, resistance, a deviation above, resistance, just a little bit ago. You could call that a deviation above 69. And then now we're trading above it once again. So I want to see 69 become sort of a demand zone. And then even more locally, one more thing that I've failed to mention is that right here, when we broke down, we've had several days, right? Several days of resistance right around 66, right around 66, right? And this 66 level, which was resistance, and then we popped up to the daily, has now become demand. So you're seeing a lower time frame sort of market structure develop as well, right? Resistance flipped into support and a push higher, right? So the microstructure is supporting at the very moment a higher level, a higher high. So if this is going to be your low, high, higher low, you're looking for a higher high, right? And this hourly block right here is the same level that I told you guys a little bit briefly how price tried to hold the daily. We broke underneath it, right? A lot of respect for the daily, so we're going to respect the daily as well. So now coming down to the 4 hour, the reason we're breaking it down lower and lower is because, this is going to be the signal. How are we going to know how to trade 69? Is 69 going to be bullish or bearish, right? And now we're going to come into the actual trades. There's a lot of nuance that I had to go over, a lot of setup that I had to go over, a lot of details that I wanted to go over just to get to what we're about to talk about 16 minutes into the video. So if you guys are still with me, or if you guys skip to the timestamps, this is the crux of how we're going to deal with Litecoin now. Okay, so for me, this structure right here, I have four things that for me need to hold to push higher, to continue higher market structure. Number one, 69, as I've talked about, 69 daily level. Number two, the daily trend, the D1 200, sorry, the H4 200 EMA needs to hold as support. We need to flip this as support. We've already, we're kind of doing that right now. And number three is going to be this breaker block, right? So we're going to push up, indecision at 69, a push higher into this H1 supply, a rejection, a rolled over, and then an attempt right here, this bearish order block where bulls stepped in and said, okay, let's try to formulate, a higher low or something like that. Rejected, failed, rejected under the daily trend, sold off lower. Right? So this block right here is very important to me. As you can see, we struggled with it, a little bit of resistance, and then a blast through. So now we're looking at this. This is a breaker block for me. For me, a breaker block is kind of a break in market structure. We were bearish, now we're bullish. We've overtaken the point of breakdown, right? So this point of breakdown needs to be defended. And we've done that in the past few hours, right? Overnight. So we've got a few things going for us. And lastly, the trend, the local trend is the H4 trend. This is the same EMAs I always use, right? So the H4 trend band needs to be defended. So now I have four confluent factors right here for an invalidation to brew on a lower time frame. So what have I done? I've taken a trade. I've entered at 69.20, and my invalidation is going to look something like this, right? Lose the 4 hour, lose the daily, lose the breaker, show weakness in price, I'm going to get out. I don't really need a hard stop. I don't need a level that says if this level gets tagged, I will get out. I do place those overnight in case of some calamity to occur. I do define my risk while I go to sleep. But while I'm awake, I don't have those there. And I'm basically just watching price. And if something starts rolling over and we're losing the 4 hour trend and we're losing the breaker block and we're losing the daily trend and we're losing 69, I can get out. I'm invalidated. Then all these bearish ideas come true. And then I look for bear trades. Then I say, okay, if this is a deviation and this is a deviation and this whole thing is a bear flag, head and shoulders, yada yada, etc., then I say, okay, let's break market structure. Let's take out these lows. Any pullback into this area is now going to be a short trigger for me. My invalidation is going to be up here, hard stop. If you take out these highs, well, yeah, that was a fake breakdown. That's my invalidation. That's my stop loss. I start aiming for liquidity. I start aiming for liquidity to the downside. Here are these lows, right? So a bearish trade for me is as simple as that. I hope that makes sense, right? We lose the 4 hour, we lose the daily, we lose the breaker, we lose 69 high time frame level. I look for a break in market structure. I get in on a pullback. I define my loss as a higher high. I start looking for liquidity. Target 1, target 2, target 3, so on and so forth, right? I think that eventually you say, okay, all this Litecoin mania is nonsense. The market is extremely bearish. That's it. That's my That's it for me on Litecoin. I'm gonna trade this to the downside. That's a rejection of daily trend, et cetera, et cetera. I'm repeating myself a million times, guys, but I think it's important I repeat these things to myself when I take trades as well. So I'm gonna do the same thing for you if I'm trying to teach what I know or what how I trade my system, right? Now to the top side. Okay, as long as it's defended, I took a trade here at 69.20. I'm looking for higher targets. What are those higher targets? First, liquidity, right? This wick right here. I think what you can get is a higher high, right? I would take profits. I would exit the trade completely. If we start consolidating right here, we push up. I would look for another trade in here with another invalidation that's tight and look for a push higher into the next block. But if we get a pullback, if we don't get it and immediately push up, right? Right here, we take out this liquidity. We get a pullback. This was resistance, right? This would be demand, right? If we get a push higher, I'd be looking to get back in right in here. And what would happen? The 4 hourly trend would push up, the daily trend would push up, a lot of confluence would build. This prior resistance would now be flipped into support. You would be looking for another leg. You'd say, okay, I'm going to get in here. This is probably not going to cap us for the third time. We're going to push higher. We're going to get into this zone, 78, right? So so I'm not going to argue with the chart, right? I think we're in bullish market structure. I'm going to play it with a bullish idea. I have a very strong, defined level of risk, defined invalidation of what I don't want to see price do. Again, trade into here, right? If this is the point of breakdown, right? This is distribution, right? This is going to be hard to get over. This is the point of breakdown right here. This is why I have that highlighted. Get above this, liquidity, 85, right? So this is all just, going to be flowing trade after trade after trade, following the daily trend, following the local trends, following local price action, constantly looking for resistance to flip to support. And that's how you're going to build and trade within a trend if you're not just buying spot and holding it for a few months and looking for higher targets. If you're looking to actively trade this, this is how I would do it, personally. And I hope that I've gone over enough things to support the bearish argument and the bullish argument, how I'm going to trade to the downside. Should this break down, I'll happily trade it to the downside. I'm going to be looking for, Litecoin, Bitcoin to break down as well. I'm going to be looking for confluent factors. I think Bitcoin would be bearish as well. But as long as, Litecoin, Bitcoin is in a bullish trend, you'd just be calling it a pullback of a bullish trend. Look for higher highs, and this is kind of how I'm going to be trading Litecoin. This is my idea for it, and yeah, guys, that's pretty much going to do it for the video. I don't think there's anything that I've missed as far as levels go. I think the thing that everyone is struggling with is 69, 69, 70, however you want to define this mid-range, however you want to define this level, I think is what a lot of people are looking for or looking at and kind of being, really confused on how to trade. And I think that's a little bit where experience comes in and a little bit of a touch of like, okay, yeah, this is a level. We don't know if it's bullish. We don't know if it's bearish. We don't know if it's a bearish retest. We don't know if it's a support, a resistance to support flip yet, and there's conditions that need to be met to trade both ways. So trading is a bunch of if then statements, and again, I've labeled a bunch of if then statements in this video. If X occurs, I will do Y. If A occurs, I'll do B, and so on. And that's basically it. That's the core of trading. If you guys found this video helpful in any way, be sure to hit the like button. Check out the links in the description box below. Check out Bybit. Sign up there. Check out the Discord. Check out my Twitter, guys. All right, guys. That's going to do it for Litecoin. That's going to do it for this video. Talk to you guys in the next one. Have a good new year.